Namaskar. In this lecture, we shall study the important concept of dravya, or what we call as a substance. This is an important definition so that we understand what substances are first. If you ask a question, what is there in this universe? What are the things present? According to Jainism, the lok or this universe contains substances, and the substance is known as dravya in technical term. So the whole universe consists of dravya, and we make a definition of substance or dravya. As a substance is capable of continuous eternal existence through infinite succession and cessation, origination and cessation. Means a substance is one which continuously exists. That's first condition. It never ceases to exist. And then the second condition is that this experiences continuous change in form, which we said that it has infinite succession, origination and cessation. Means it's one mode originates, the earlier mode ceases to exist, and the substance continues to exist. So this is the basic definition of a substance. Then a substance is also a thing which contains qualities or attributes. There is no substance without qualities. Every substance which exists in this universe will have qualities. The substances experience transformation in their modes of their state. That is, the state of the substance continuously changes with time. And during this process of transformation, the earlier mode ceases to exist and the next mode comes in existence. But the real nature of the substance remains same. That the real nature of the substance does not change. It's only its form that is changing. You can understand this with an example. Say water. Water normally, at the normal conditions, we find that it exists as liquid. But if you heat up water, it converts into vapors. Or if you cool water, it will convert into ice. So these three are different forms of water. It can exist as ice, solid form. It can exist as water, liquid form, or it can exist as vapor, gaseous form. But during all these forms, or during these changes of these forms, the basic substance H2O remains same. This is what happens in the case of any substance. That the nature of the fundamental substance continues to exist all the time. Its form only changes from time to time. So the basic rule then for a substance is origination, cessation, permanence, OCP. So this in short is the rule for any substance, that the substance is permanent and its modes are originating and ceasing with time. So this is the basic characteristics of a substance. This implies that the substance is neither destroyed or not created, because it's only the form which is changing and substance is not changing. Means very clearly that no substance can be created and no substance can be destroyed. Anything that does not follow this law is not a substance. So the negative definition is also made that, if the substance does not follow the OCP rule, then it's not a substance. All substances are transitory, permanent. There is no object is purely transitory and no object is purely permanent. So the transition goes on with time, but the substance nature remains permanent. So now we form a rule that a substance has three characteristics. First, it is real, it is drive, it exists, and it follows the OCP rule, as I said. Number two, it possesses attribute or qualities. Any substance will have a quality. And third, it has modes. This is in Jainism known as a paryaya. So there is a dravya, it has a guna, the qualities, and it is a paryaya, it has modes. The qualities discriminate between substances. If there are different substances, how do you make a distinction between them? It is with the help of qualities that we are able to distinguish one substance from the another. Modes produce conjugate forms, forms one after another with time. Qualities always exist in a substance. No substance is free of qualities any time, any moment. All the time the qualities will continue to exist, although the form is changing. Modes occur in succession, as I said, one after another. So at any one particular time, only one mode will exist. And a substance has infinite modes. That is, modes will go on changing one after another, and there is no end of it. It will always continue. Of course, it is possible that the same form is repeated in time, but in any case, there are infinite modes a substance can have. Modes are of two types, what we call as Artha Paryaya and Vyanjan Paryaya. The Artha Paryaya are subtle changes in the substance, which we cannot see. We are not aware of this kind of change. The subtle, they are so fine that we cannot identify that in a substance that look here, there are changes taking place, but there are taking place. Then there is another paryaya which we call as Vyanjan Paryaya. That is a gross change, which is visible. For example, in the case of water, which I cited earlier, now it's the water changes into ice or water changes into vapor. These forms are visible. They are gross changes. So they are Vyanjan Paryaya. But the water itself, changes are taking place at atomic level. So continuously, there are movements, as we know. There are movements inside the atom. The electrons are moving, the protons and neutrons are continuously interchanging, and so on. So there are continuous changes taking place inside the water form or atoms or water molecules, but that we cannot see. We cannot identify such changes. They are very subtle in form, and that's true for all substances. As I said, the Vyanjan Paryaya will require an assistance of another auxiliary cause. Without that, the gross change in form does not take place. For example, if the water changed into vapor, then it requires a heat. Or the water changes into ice, it requires cooling. So it requires assistance of another substance, what we call as the auxiliary cause, so that the substance can change its gross form, from one form to another. Say, for example, another example, we are human beings, So our soul is in the form of a human being. The same soul can exist in the form of an animal or in the form of an insect or in the form of a tree, and so on. So these are all gross forms, Vyanjan Paryaya of the soul. But so in my case, I exist as a human being. So I continue to exist as a human being for my lifetime, but my soul is undergoing continuous changes. Its state is changing every time. These are subtle changes, Artha Paryaya, which we are not able to see and which we are not able to experience, or which we are not able to identify. How many substances are there in the universe? We made a definition. Now we'll see how many substances are actually present. Jain philosophy says there are only 6 kinds of substances in this universe. Only 6, not 5 or not 7. 6, fixed number, 6 substances are present. What are these substances? One is we call as a dharmastika, in short, dharma. Dharma has, it does not have the meaning in the sense of religion. It's a technical term defining a substance. Dharmastika or dharma. This substance helps movement or helps in the motion of, say for example, material objects or soul, these objects. The concept here is that no object can move without the assistance of dharmastika. Now, how do you understand this? For example, you take the case of fish. A fish is swimming in water. The water does not move the fish, but this is also a fact that the fish cannot move without water. So water becomes an auxiliary cause for fish to move. Similarly, there is an auxiliary cause for all the substances in this lok. For example, when I move my hand like this, I am moving the hand, but the hand cannot be moved unless dharmastika is present. Similarly, there is another substance which we call as adharmastika. This adharmastika substance helps objects and things to remain in stationary position or steady position. For example, I am sitting on chair. The chair is steady for the timing, it is not moving. So this is the table, the chair is able to remain in this position because of adharmastika. So this is the concept of adharmastika. Then we have a third substance known as akasastika, or akas in short. Akas we understand normally space. So this has the property to accommodate all other substances. So all other 5 substances live in Akasa, for example. The Akas accommodate all the substances. This is the quality of Akash. Then the 4th substance is Pudgalastika, or Pudgal in short, which means matter and energy. All forms of matter, all forms of energy are Pudgal. This is a specialty of Jain concept. From the very beginning, Jainis believed that matter and energy are the forms of the same entity, Pudgal. It's in the science, till very recently, matter and energy were being treated separately. There were laws for matter, there were laws for energy, and later on these were combined. And then, of course, Einstein came up with a relation between mass and energy and so on. But as far as the Jainism is concerned, right from very beginning, it was very clear that matter and energy are the forms of the same substance, Pudgal. Then the 5th substance is Jivastika or Jiv, what we call as a soul or Atma. So this is a very important concept, that the soul is a substance in Jainism. It's like any other substance. The soul is also a substance. Jiv is also a substance, and it will have the same characteristics as any other substance. And this is associated with all forms of life, whether it's human being or animals or insects or trees or anything, even bacteria and so on. They all will have soul. Then the sixth substance is kal, what is known as a time. This substance kal helps all other substances to have a time journey. Means we are going ahead with in time, one after another. Suppose I am speaking now, next moment I am speaking, next moment I am speaking, and so on. So instant after instant, this is time journey. So just like we said that in a space journey we need an auxiliary cause or an agent in the form of dharmastika. Similarly, in the case of time journey, a substance is needed, and that is kal. So kal is an agent which enables substances to continuously exist in time. All these six substances coexist, That means they are all present in the world, they are all present in the universe. They mix with each other. So, but the beauty is that even if they are mixing, they maintain their separate identity. They maintain their separate identity. So if the one substance does not become another, it remains same. Then we use the term astika just now, dharmastika, adharmastika, pudgalastika, and so on. The astika has a particular meaning here. It refers to spatial expansion, The things occupy space. It has a form. So it is astika. The 5 substances, out of 6 are astika, but kal is not astika. The kal does not extend in space. It just exists at one point and continue to exist at that point. Then we have a term called pradesh. Pradesh is a space occupied by the smallest entity of Pudgal, matter. The smallest individual part of Pudgal or matter is known as a Parmanu in Jainism. So this is the smallest form in which the matter or energy can exist. This is indivisible. Now there is no smaller form than Parmanu. And this Parmanu is very, very small. It is not atom with which we are familiar. Atom is a very gross unit according to Jainism, and Parmanu is very, very, very small, smaller than an atom. And the space occupied by that Parmanu is known as a Pradesh. So all the substances which I have just now told you exist at every Pradesh of the universe. The universe can be divided into number of Pradeshas which are innumerable, and at every Pradesh all the 6 substances exist. So we made a definition here. Of the 6 substances, and as I said that all 6 substances exist in the lok. They are eternal, they are always present in the lok. So the lok will never have 5 substances or 7 substances. All the 6 substances will exist. They of course will go on changing their form. We will study the details of these substances in the next lecture, that what are the qualities of these different substances. Jiva is a special kind of substance. We must know a little more in detail what Jiva is, how many forms it can occupy and so on. So we will have a separate lecture on Jiva. The other 5 substances, we will consider or will cover in the next lecture. So we stop for the time being. Thank you.